Greetings, y'all, and welcome to Seek Things Above TV. I'm your host, Lucha Cooney. So today we are going to look at this breaking news, which is Joanie Lamb now responding with an official statement from Daystar. This statement is also available on X. And so obviously that means they are making sure that everybody everywhere can get a hold of this statement. And this is what Daystar wants people to know. So we're going to dive right into the video that she posted. If you like content like this, y'all know what to do. Like, share, and subscribe. Ring the bell for notifications. But without further ado, let's go ahead and play this, and then we will get started. And we'll also check on the comments in the chats. Thank you all so much for joining. Much appreciated as always. But let's go ahead and check this out.
From my heart to the day. Hello, everyone. I wanted to take a few minutes today to speak from my heart to the Daystar family and friends. Recently, Daystar made the decision to terminate my son, Jonathan Lamb's employment. That decision was not taken lightly. It followed a 15-month review of Jonathan's performance and his refusal to take any steps to satisfy a detailed performance improvement plan put in place. He also refused my offer to participate in a formal mediation to resolve grievances in a biblical and professional manner. Rather than take any steps to improve his performance at Daystar, it seems clear now that Jonathan was focused on fabricating a smear campaign. You see, Jonathan was extremely disappointed that he was not named the future president of Daystar following the death of his father and my husband, Marcus Lamb, despite the fact that Marcus had given a clear directive to the family and to the board that I would succeed him as president. Jonathan's disappointment in not getting his way only deepened when I married Dr. Doug Weiss, who has been such a blessing to me, the rest of my family, and Daystar. I can tell you that as a mother, as a grandmother, this situation saddens me deeply, and it grieves my heart because I love my family. I love all my children. I love my grandchildren. I love the work we've done together for so many years. And I had hoped that we could have resolved the situation in private. But now, Jonathan has given me no choice except to speak out. Everyone knows that we have dedicated our lives to spreading the love of Jesus. And to see it attacked by my son, Jonathan, and his wife is truly heartbreaking. I want to assure you that all the allegations that are circulating against myself and my late husband are completely false. We have already begun to take legal steps to defend ourselves, and we will address the accusations in a God-honoring way. We stand firm in our faith, knowing that God is with us, and his purpose for Daystar is far greater than any present challenge we may be facing. While this attack is very painful and wrong, I know that our battle is not against flesh and blood, but against a spiritual enemy who seeks to destroy and divide no matter what the cost. I want to ask you for your prayers. Thank you for your continued love and support. Our team here at Daystar will keep you updated. Again, thank you for your prayers. God bless you.
Okay, so that was the statement from Joanie Lamb. Again, thank you all for joining. So it goes without saying that this has caused a lot of different reactions on social media. So we're just going to go ahead and take a look. Actually, let's start with what we see on X, what people have to say over there. Yes, this is a better page. Let's go with this one. So on X, we have... so there's someone said, Christina Foray says, but why did she leave out the part about her son refusing to sign an NDA after a family member essayed his 5-year-old daughter? Okay, let's see what else is there. More people. So this is, again, as I mentioned, this statement is available on X as well. So they're making sure that everybody gets a chance to see it, no matter what platform you are on. I'm pretty sure this is on Rumble too. And here is a sarcastic picture here from somebody named David, and just his grandmother of the year. And there's a picture of Joni there. So yeah, many reactions here. Some of these are from the previous days here, but in general, the the consensus has been that Susie and Jonathan are speaking the truth, and that Daystar is seeking to suppress them and is not speaking the truth because they have skeletons in their closet, which are very vicious and very hard to get rid of. And so that is generally what we're seeing here. And, Joni's posting here on her X right here. She said, "Fear not, for I am with you. Be not dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. I will help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand," quoting Isaiah 41:10 with a big fear not here. So really trying to rally up her supporters, those who maybe still have some faith in Daystar. She's really trying to rally them up, it seems. So I have several questions about this whole post that she has made, like many people. I mean, first of all, you've got to wonder what is going through the minds of people in Daystar, the people that work there, people wondering if they're actually going to recover from this, if they're going to get past it. And of course, Joni, as the leader, has to come and display a show of strength and a show of being on the right side of things, and that all is going to be well, because she has to calm people who are under, her care, as it were. I mean, her and care in the same word just don't seem to be something that you want to say, but people who are under her charge or under her care, man, and they absolutely want to make everybody think that it's all going to work out fine in the end and that they are in the right and this whole thing is not true. I have a great amount of skepticism as I think about them trying to convince people that that is the case. Let's go ahead actually and just try to let me pull up the transcript, because, if we play the video too much, that could be problematic over here. We don't know as far as even strikes and whatever it is that they might try to do with that video, especially if you're not speaking, warm and glowing comments about what they're doing. So let's take a look at this. So yeah, I think we can probably see it with this. Okay, yeah. So this here is the transcript of her statement. Okay, so the things besides, regular greeting there and all that stuff. So she says that the decision to remove Jonathan was not taken lightly, and it followed a 15-month review of Jonathan's performance and his refusal to take any steps to satisfy a detailed performance improvement plan put in place. Now, my question is, all those years that his father was around and running the business, running the organization, it's tough to call it a ministry, the organization, the company, Daystar, all that time that his father was around and all the time that Jonathan was doing what he was doing, those many years, appearing on TV, all that stuff, there never seemed to be a problem with his performance, right? Like, there never seemed to be a problem with his performance at all. But now all of a sudden, there's a problem with his performance after Marcus passes away and after Doug Weiss enters the fold, and then after they meaning Susie and Jonathan, express their problems and then make their grievances known publicly. So after all of that, now that's when we're hearing about Jonathan's supposed performance, poor performance at the workplace, things that needed to be reviewed, when all those years he seemed to be performing just fine and all was well. So that is highly, doubtful. Okay, it's highly doubtful. It's hard to convince many people that that would be the case, that all of a sudden Jonathan just didn't know how to do his job. After all these years of being online, being on Daystar, all of a sudden he just doesn't know how to do his job now. And it took 15 months. And I bet if we start going back 15 months from now, what's interesting is you'll end up in 2023, and 2023 is around the time when, I mean, we know that she got married to Doug Weiss in 2023. Okay. So is it now that those two things coincide that now Jonathan forgot how to be on TV and Doug also entered the fold? I mean, it's hard to buy that. All right. So then she says he also refused my offer to participate in a formal mediation to resolve grievances in a biblical and professional manner, rather than take any steps to improve his performance at Daystar. It seems clear now that Jonathan was focused on fabricating a smear campaign. You see, Jonathan was extremely disappointed that he was not named the future president of Daystar following the death of his father. So, yet again, this is being pushed out as the reason that he had issues. That also seems to have been a statement from Rachel, that all of this, everything that we're hearing here, it stems from Jonathan wanting to be the president of Daystar and him being passed over for that position. And when we weigh that against the allegations that are being made, if we weigh that against the allegations, I mean, come on. We are dealing like that's just like a convenient, it's a convenient way to just kind of defend yourself or try to defend yourself, but it does not add up. It does not add up. I'm not buying this whole thing. And so talking about resolving grievances in a biblical and professional manner. Now, as that post we saw on X said, like, why didn't she mention anything about the SA? I will say, if you're trying to resolve things that actually require criminal investigations and that the authorities should actually get involved, then yes, we can be as biblical as we can be, but then we also have to go through the channels of the law, because the Lord has given the government as his instrument to execute justice. And so we also have to follow the right channels of the law, and we cannot brush things under the carpet. I mean, how many of these SA cases have you seen and heard where an individual is being told to hold hands and just repent and make peace with the people who have committed horrible acts against either them or a loved one? Like, that's ridiculous. The Bible doesn't call us to do that at all. We're called to forgive. We're called to do that. And that doesn't even mean that because you forgive, that now somebody has to be in your life. You need to see Pete or whoever it is every day in your life. You can forgive, but then the judgment and the consequences have to, be paid for. He has to pay for that. And so that right there, man, telling people that they need to handle things in a biblical and professional manner when things are in the realm now of law enforcement needs to be involved now, that's also silly. So if she's referring to that in that sentence, then I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Joni. Sorry. We can't, you should not be asking anybody to roll like that when some, perpetrators need to pay for what they have done. Okay. And so she said Jonathan was extremely disappointed that he was not named the future president of Daystar following the death of his father and her husband, Marcus, despite the fact that Marcus had made it clear that she should take over. Okay, that she should take over. Now, we did see in a previous live stream, we did see a statement from Marcus. I can't remember where it was. It may have been um, on the Royce Report article. I believe it may have been, where Marcus had clearly made it known to his children that they built the company without them. They don't need them. And at the end of the day, they're expendable if they don't go along with the program. And the program at that point was keeping silent about what was going on, about the allegations. And so it seems that Marcus had already made up his mind about this. And perhaps even the children knew that this was going to happen. And it just, I don't know what kind of relationship they had when he passed. Of course, when somebody dies, there's a way in which even terrible things, like you'd wish that you could just squash those things and still have the person around. And so there may be a sense in where there's a way in which they lament the loss of Marcus still, of course. I mean, being his father, Jonathan. But you also wonder how things were when he passed. Was their relationship strained? And it very well could have been. It very well could have been, given all the things that were going on. Okay. But we do know Marcus already made those kind of comments and, threats to his kids that if they don't fall in line, that they can, be forgotten and that the company would go on without them. So back to this transcript here. I can tell you that as a mother, she says, as a grandmother, this situation saddens me deeply and it grieves my heart because I love my family. I love all my children. I love my grandchildren. I love the work we've done together for so many years, and I had hoped that we could have resolved this situation in private. Again, if this is something that is in the realm of law enforcement needs to be involved, there's no sorting this out in private, okay? But now Jonathan has given me no choice except to speak out. Everyone knows that we have dedicated our lives to spreading the love of Jesus, and to see it attacked by my son Jonathan and his wife is truly heartbreaking. I want to assure you that all the allegations that are circulating against myself and my late husband are completely false. Okay, so she's giving assurances that all of this is false. She is saying her heart is broken by what is going on. And her heart is broken that Jonathan is doing, as she mentioned, she called it a smear campaign. So she is accusing Jonathan of making all these things up. She is saying that he made these things up. None of it is true. And her heart is broken and grieved over all of that. Now, listen, if that's what she's trying to say, then she's basically accusing her son, okay? She's accusing her son and his wife of making up a story of child SA involving their own child, which would, be around for the rest of the child's life. That story would be known. And that they would now have to talk about something very difficult, something very dark concerning their family, and that all of that was made up. That's basically what she is saying. If she's saying that all of these things are false, then she's calling her son a liar and somebody who would make up such a fantastical story, a sensational story, evil, dark, sensational story, simply because he's not the president of the company. That's very hard to believe. That is very, very difficult to believe that would be the case. And we are called, as Proverbs tells us, to listen to both sides of the story before we make a conclusion. And so It's good that we're hearing her speak up, but we need to hear more substance to the defense that Joni's making, because this seems like a very polished, PR friendly response that she's making here. And it is simply to push aside the negativity that is targeted at Daystar right now and to save face. That's what it appears to be, because there's very little substance apart from pointing fingers at Jonathan. There's very little substance. And these aren't even the issues that people are concerned about. We're not so much concerned about Jonathan's job situation and everything as much as we are concerned about the SA allegations. That's what we're concerned about the most. And she doesn't mention any of it in here. She doesn't mention a single word of it. Now, I'm pretty sure that's also due to legal ramifications. There's things that she can't talk about. So I could grant her that. But at the same time, like, that's the thing that everybody's looking at you sideways about. That is the thing that everybody is shaking their heads at, is that issue. But you did not address it in the first public statement that you made. So that is not good for her to have done that. At least it's not helpful, I should say. It may be good for her. It may have been the best move as far as strategically, but it's not helpful for those out there who are seeking the truth. It was not helpful at all. Back to the transcript. So she says, we have already begun to take legal steps to defend ourselves, and we will address the accusations in a God-honoring way. We stand firm in our faith, knowing that God is with us, and his purpose for Daystar is far greater than any present challenge we may be facing. While this attack is very painful and wrong, I know that our battle is not against flesh and blood, but against a spiritual enemy who seeks to destroy and divide no matter what the cost. All right. So, of course, from her perspective, God is fighting with her and for her and standing with Daystar. But listen, even before all of these allegations, if you just had to, just as far as the teaching that is promoted on Daystar, the people that are platformed on Daystar, some of these really bad prosperity preachers and word of faith types that have been platformed there, the Lord has not been with Daystar for a very long time. Okay, so I'm sorry to tell you, Joni, that the Lord has not been with Daystar for a long time. Maybe it started off with good intentions and got lost along the way. I don't know. And I do think it is due time for a deep dive into the history of Daystar and to see what it was that they believed and what were their convictions for starting this ministry from the beginning. Because where it ended up and where it is now is very sad, and the Lord is not with that ministry, okay? Because the Lord, the Holy Spirit is the Spirit of truth. And so the Spirit of truth will not abide in a place where there is lies and falsehood and aberrant theology that misleads people and can cause very horrible spiritual harm to them. And so the Lord is not there. And that's even before we get to all these allegations. And so now she claims that the Lord is with her, the Lord is fighting with Daystar, and such will be the case. Their battle is not against flesh and blood, but against spiritual enemies who seek to destroy and divide no matter what the cost. Well, that may be true, but, the enemies are, the enemies, you're complicit with the enemies. That's basically what I would say about that. They are complicit with the enemies who are seeking to divide, by all accounts, from what we can see. And then, of course, she ends by asking for prayers and continued love and support. Thank you, people, for that. Daystar will keep us updated, and thanks, people, for their prayers. Now, certainly there are people who are still supporting Daystar, praying for them, and wishing the best for the ministry. There's been a little bit of backlash. We've seen some, pockets of that in comment sections and things like that on as far as just the coverage that I've done so far on this channel and other content creators that I know. So there has been a little bit of pushback, but I think the vast majority of people are not standing or siding with Daystar through this thing at all. And is that, us just jumping to conclusions? You might want to be tempted to think so, but when you're dealing with this, man, like what seems to be a preponderance of evidence here, it's difficult to see how those things are going to be defended. And those things are going to be refuted by Joni and the other people involved. Now, I will say a quick word about Rachel Lamb. Now, of course, Rachel Lamb did speak out against Jonathan and Susie, and she used the same script. She used the very same script here that Jonathan has been upset ever since he was not given the position as president of the company, and that everything is made up pretty much. Like that's in a nutshell, that's what she's saying. So again, it's the same script that Joni is speaking from. Now, here is where Rachel's opinion and her weighing in on things doesn't hold a lot of weight, okay? Here is where it is. And many of you already have commented about this. And so this is not like some shocking news that I'm about to say. But the reason why Rachel is not somebody who can really be taken as credible in this is because all fingers point to the mysterious person. And I want to be careful how I say this, because, we're not trying to defame anybody, but all fingers do point to someone that she is, closely involved with and lives in her house, okay? All fingers point to that person possibly being Pete. And so if that is the case, that is true, if there's any truth to it, then she's not a credible person to be speaking about anything concerning this case. And it would be better if she remained silent. And if there is truth to what has happened, that this is a moment for her to really come forth and repent. That's what it is. And I can't imagine the difficulty that she's facing if these things are true. I feel for her in that regard. But what she cannot do is try to cover up things and be willing to smear or talk bad about the name of her brother and sister-in-law in order to preserve some sort of honor or to save face. Like she can't do that. That is wrong in the eyes of the Lord. So this is the situation with this statement at the moment. So Joni has issued this first statement. She said they will talk more. They will keep us updated. So when that happens, we will certainly come back with reports about that. So let me look at some of the chats here. Again, thank you so much for joining us, man. I appreciate all of y'all tuning in and listening to my commentary on this and my thoughts. Let me hear your thoughts now. Please let me know in the chats what you are thinking. I will just start right here. So I have Y. Odam. Hope I'm pronouncing the name correctly. She didn't even know that Marcus Lamb was in an adulterous affair for many years. Why would Jonathan turn this over to the authorities if he was not telling the truth? Exactly. Exactly. That is a great question. Why would he turn it over to the authorities? And why would we start looking at Joni as though she has, she's all knowing and that nothing can, everything that she says is 100% accurate? Like, come on. Like, exactly. Her late husband had an adulterous affair. She didn't even know about it. And even the way the thing was settled, and we reported on this, is it only came to light. They only made it public at the threat of the extortion. When the individuals on the other side came forth and were trying to extort Marcus and Joni for $7 million, I believe was the number, that's when they said, we got to come out in front of this and make a public statement and display that they had, reconciled and all had been forgiven and all that stuff. But they didn't let anybody know until that point. And mind you, this is a ministry. If there's any ministry that you're involved in, you are supposed to, at a point like that, the truth needs to be made known to those who support that ministry. You need to tell them. You cannot just simply keep quiet and then only at the point where there's a threat of you losing money, you start talking and then start saying how much you love each other and all that stuff. So even the way she responded to that almost seems like it was a calculated response, and we don't even necessarily know how much she got over all of those things. I mean, we don't celebrate divorce. We don't celebrate people being split up. We're glad when people are able to reconcile. That is a blessing from the Lord when they do. But the way it all happened was somewhat questionable when it was made public. But thank you so much for your comments there. Cat Lady said Satan has nothing to do with this, Joni. Right. So this is what you're going to see. People invoking the name of God for their protection and God being on their side when things go wrong like this. And then also making it sound as though this is some dark spiritual attack that is happening when it is the acts of the flesh and of a sinful heart that have led us to this whole thing being exposed. Just Browsing said worldly ministry is all about the dollar signs, book sales, corporate jets, and celebrity. Oh, yeah. And the corporate jets one, like we have some stuff that we're going to cover on that situation, because the whole thing about, and shout out to Candy Chand, who reported just fabulous reporting on this issue and gave us a lot of insight into some of the things that Susie was dealing with. When she made it known that Daystar is registered as a church and therefore they don't pay tax and all of that stuff. I mean, that left me in just baffled about the whole thing and how they operate. And then to find out that during the pandemic, that they actually got like a PPP loan as well. That was almost $4 million. But then shortly after that, then they ended up buying a new jet. They ended up buying a new private jet, and they said the money wasn't from the jet, it was from the PPP loans, was from somewhere else, that, this, that, and the third. But look, like their ministry, TV stations didn't suffer during the pandemic, right? I mean, like, let's just be honest. I mean, like, you could say, okay, maybe some people weren't coming to work or things like that. I could get that to an extent, but to the point where they needed these loans just to stay afloat, and then there were some huge expenses that happened after that. That is highly questionable. So yes, their managing of money is something that is definitely going to be scrutinized. And I'm telling you, man, this is going to there's going to be a lot more talk into that. No, there's going to be a lot more talk about the way the finances have been handled. We already saw the video on the $100,000 for the honeymoon that took place. So we already saw that. If you haven't seen it, you could check on this channel. I will try to leave a link somewhere here afterwards, but many people have reported on it. Essentially, Joni billed Daystar $100,000 for her honeymoon, which makes no sense whatsoever. So there is some strange handling of money in this ministry. Connie says, what kind of grandparents would not protect a grandchild? Shaking my head, prayers for all, especially the little girl. And that is who should not be forgotten in this whole thing, is that now this is something she's going to have to live with for the rest of her life. This story being so public that people know as soon as she puts her name on something, it's going to be known like, oh, are you related to so-and-so? Is Jonathan Lamb your father? Like, oh, like she says yes. And then people automatically say, oh, okay. So they know who she is, they know who she is. This is going to be there for the rest of her life. And that is why I just really, to think that somebody would make this story up about their own child simply because they're mad about a job, it just does not add up. It just does not add up. So definitely she is the one we need to be praying for the most in this whole situation. Wanda says, Joni, you have turned on your son. This is disgraceful. It is. I mean, this whole thing it's just sad to see. Like, I don't rejoice in seeing families at war with one another at all. It's a very sad thing to see. It's a very sad thing to see. And if this was really all just for money and stuff, then man, may the Lord help her for sure. There was time given for repentance, but nobody came forward. Thank you for your comment here, Deborah. Yes, there was plenty of time, but instead they were trying to tell them to sort it out behind closed doors. That's what they were trying to tell them to do. Yeah, so just a lot of outrage. Greetings, Nicholas, proclaimer of Messiah. Good to see you, brother. It's been a while. This is very atrocious when adults would rather pretend a child was not M or R than to report it to the police and get lawyers involved and strive to get truth and justice. Yes, absolutely. Shameful. So shameful. Yeah, Shiny, you are not alone. You are not alone. I do not believe Joni and her statement. My prayers with Jonathan and Susie justice to be served. Yes. It's just hard to buy it. It's just hard to buy it. And it seems so, when the statements seem so sanitized, when they're making these things, and it's a very sort of clean statement that they're trying to make, it seems too sanitized. When you're speaking really from the heart, man, it's different. And I know you have to read from a prompter or something when it's something like this because they don't want you to say the wrong thing. But, I mean, it just does not seem right. Just does not seem right. So back to this, back to the X comments over here. I just wanted y'all to take note of this. So the comments on this post are disabled. So they do not want anybody saying anything on this post. And I believe it's the same thing on YouTube as well. Comments are disabled. They don't want to hear nothing. And, I understand. I understand that they don't want to face the vitriol that might come their way if they let people make comments on that video. So it could get ugly pretty fast. But the comments are disabled. They don't want anybody saying anything about that. And so that is the update on this situation. We now have a public statement from Joanie Lamb, and we will see where things end up. I'm sure there's more to be spoken of, and I'm gathering and thinking that following this, we will also likely hear from Jonathan and Susie. And so when any kind of statement of that from them comes out, we will be sure to come back and discuss that with y'all. I mean, I just greatly appreciate everybody's feedback on this. Let us know your thoughts. Continue to pray for this family, especially for the little girl. And we do pray that justice would indeed be served. We do pray for that. But with that being said, thank you so much for watching, everybody. Do have a wonderful evening. God bless y'all. And, feel free to like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Our goal is to point people to Christ and to the things above. And that is why we say, if then you have been raised with Christ, seek the things that are above, where Christ is seated at the right hand of God. Set your minds on things that are above, not on things that are on earth. All right. So God bless y'all. We will see y'all on the next one. Grace and peace.